Hello and welcome back to Tech Talks with Kinsoft. I'm your host. And I have to be honest, looking at the stack of reports we have for this week, it's been a pretty heavy one.
Volatile is the right word.
Yeah,
It really feels like a convergence of, I don't know, several different storm fronts hitting all at once.
exactly. I mean, we're seeing accidental exposure, malicious extortion, and critical code vulnerabilities all landing in the same, 7-day window?
All at once.
And we aren't talking about minor glitches here. We're looking at a massive data breach at one of our oldest universities, a really disturbing ransomware attack on a fertility provider, and then this red alert vulnerability in the code that powers a huge chunk of the modern web.
Okay, let's unpack this because, it's not just about hackers and hoodies.
Well,
It's about the files we forgot we saved.
that's exactly it. And what stands out to me, looking at these collectively, is that the root causes aren't what people expect. We always think about the Mission Impossible style hacks.
Right, the Hollywood version of cybercrime. Precisely. But the theme emerging from this week is silent failures. It's about the test environments we thought were invisible, the bad habits we've let slide because we're just too busy.
That concept of silent failures is really unsettling. It suggests the danger is already inside the house.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. We have to start with the incident that really hit the headlines on December 18th, the University of Sydney.
Yeah, this is a textbook case of what we call a non-production failure.
Okay, set the scene for us. What exactly went wrong?
So on December 18th, 2025, the university sends out a notification about unauthorized access. Now, usually you hear university breach, you're thinking student database, financial system,
The crown jewels.
the crown jewels, but the intruders didn't break down the front door. They found a window open in an online IT code library.
A code library. So for those who aren't developers, that's like a workspace, right? A place to store code and test things out.
Correct. It's a development environment, a digital workshop. It's meant for building and testing, not for, secure storage. But, and this is the critical oversight, they found data files just sitting inside that library.
Real data.
Oh, very real data. The report from Lean Security points to this as a major DevSecOps failure. The specific issue is using production data.
Actual people's information.
Yes, using actual people's information inside a non-production environment.
I want to pause on that because I feel like this happens way more than anyone admits.
Uh-huh.
I mean, developers need realistic data to test if their code works, so they just grab a copy of the live database.
It is incredibly common, and it is incredibly dangerous. It's like
Yeah.
building a practice vault for a bank to train your security guards, but then you fill it with real stacks of cash just to see if they fit.
Oh, okay.
But the problem is, because it's a practice vault, you don't put the same armed guards or alarm systems on it.
That makes perfect sense. You assume nobody is looking at the practice vault. But clearly, someone was. What was the scale of the exposure here?
The numbers are pretty significant. You're looking at personal information for about 10,000 current staff and affiliates.
And that's just the current payroll.
Right. Add to that around 12,500 former staff members, and then another 5,000 alumni and students.
And what kind of data are we talking about?
Names, dates of birth, phone numbers, home addresses, job titles, the works.
I noticed something interesting in the timeline of that data. The university said these were historical extracts. I think the staff data was from 2018. Student data went back to 2010. Why is data that old just sitting there?
That is the million-dollar question. It just points to a failure in data retention policies. In these huge organizations, you often get these zombie data sets.
Zombie data.
Yeah, a project started in 2018. The devs pulled a data set to test it. The project finished. But nobody ever went back to delete the test file.
So it's just digital hoarding, basically.
Essentially. And while the university has purged those data sets now and is working with the NSW Privacy Commissioner, the damage is in the exposure. Your date of birth hasn't changed since 2018.
Good point. It really highlights that data sprawl is a massive liability. You just can't protect what you don't remember you have.
Exactly. And this isn't their first issue with this kind of peripheral exposure. Remember back in September 2023, the breach with the international applicants.
Through a third-party provider, right?
Yeah, it shows a pattern. The edge of the network is often softer than the core.
Speaking of soft edges, we need to shift gears. Because while the Uni-Sydney story is about oversight, an accident, really, the situation in the healthcare sector is much darker. This is aggressive extortion.
It is. The healthcare sector is, it's under siege right now, and the emotional stakes are just incredibly high.
We have to talk about Genea. They're a leading fertility service provider.
Right.
Just days after the university news, Reports confirmed they were hit by the Termite ransomware gang.
Termite is a nasty group. They don't just lock up files, they steal them. They claim to have taken 700 gigabytes of data.
Okay, let's just stop there. 700 gigabytes. In the context of a fertility clinic, I mean, that is heavy. That's medical histories, diagnostic results.
It's maximum leverage. Ransomware groups, they operate like businesses. They know if they steal designs for a new toaster, nobody really cares. But if they steal fertility data, the panic is immediate. The patients are going to pressure the organization to pay.
It's sickening. And it wasn't just Genia. We saw Harbortown Doctors in Queensland pop up on the Rosita Leak site in the same week. It feels like the whole sector is just bleeding.
It is. But here's where we need to look at the why. It's easy to just blame the hackers, but I found a report, an audit from NSW Health that was released around the same time, and it sheds some light on why these places are so permeable.
This was the audit that talked about the normalization of noncompliance, right?
That's the exact phrase, normalization of noncompliance.
Which sounds like corporate speak for everyone's breaking the rules.
It is, but it explains the motivation. The audit found that clinicians, doctors, nurses were routinely sharing passwords. They were using personal devices to handle patient data.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate. These are doctors. They are under insane time pressure. If the security system makes you log in with a 20-character password every time you move to a new room, isn't the security system the problem?
That is a very valid point, and it's the core of the tension. The audit explicitly mentions time pressure. Clinicians aren't malicious. They're just trying to care for patients. If security gets in the way of patient care, security gets bypassed. It's just human nature.
So you have the IT department building this fortress, but the people inside keep leaving the side door open because the main drawbridge takes too long to lower.
That's it. But from an attacker's view, they don't care why the password was shared. They just care that it was. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we aren't just fighting hackers. We are fighting our own bad habits, our own workflow issues.
That's a tough reality. The solution isn't just buy more software, it's fix the process.
Precisely. But while human error is a huge factor there is a third storm front we have to talk about. And this one has nothing to do with bad habits. It's a pure technical failure in the bedrock of the internet.
You're talking about React 2 Shell.
I am.
The name sounds almost playful, but I'm gathering the severity is anything but.
It's catastrophic. The technical name is CVE 2025-55182. But let's stick with React 2 Shell.
Please. So for the listeners, maybe a business owner who isn't coding every day, what is this?
Okay. Modern websites, they're not just static pages anymore. They're complex applications. They're built using frameworks. Think of it like the pre-built chassis and engine of a car. React and Next.js are two of the most popular frameworks in the world.
They're everywhere. Startups, e-commerce, enterprises.
Absolutely everywhere. And React 2 Shell is a vulnerability inside these frameworks. It's rated a CVSS 10.0.
A perfect 10. That's rarely good news.
It's the worst possible score. It means critical. And the reason it's a 10 is that it allows for remote code execution, or RCE, without authentication.
Without authentication are the two scary words there.
It means the attacker doesn't need to steal a password. They don't need to trick a doctor into clicking a link. They can just send a special request to your website, and the server runs their command. It's not picking the lock, it's dissolving the door.
And are we seeing this actually being used?
Mm-hmm.
Or is this still just theoretical?
Oh, it is very much in the wild. Intelligence reports are suggesting China Nexus groups are already all over this. We're seeing names like Earthlomia and Jackpot Panda.
Jackpot Panda. I'm guessing they aren't looking for bamboo.
No, they're using this exploit to plant backdoors and deploy crypto miners.
So you could have a perfectly secure network, trained staff, great passwords. But because your website was built on React 3 years ago and you forgot to patch it, Jackpot Panda is mining Bitcoin on your servers.
Or stealing your customer database. It's a supply chain risk. You didn't write the bad code, but you're running it.
It reminds me a bit of that INET situation from the sitting duck source.
Mm.
Not the same method, obviously, but the scale of the blind spot.
That's a great parallel. With INET, you had 280,000 customers exposed because of stolen employee credentials. Legitimate access used wrongly. With React 2 Shell, it's a flaw in the system itself, but both end in massive uninvited access.
So let's just recap the volatility of this week. We've got zombie data leaking from universities, we have overworked healthcare staff bypassing security, and we have a foundational code vulnerability that just lets attackers walk right in. It feels overwhelming.
It can be. But the goal here isn't just to admire the problem. We need to distill this into action. And based on these three very distinct failures, we can actually draw a pretty clear map of what to do.
Let's do it. If I'm a CTO listening to this, or even just a business owner, what's my Monday morning to-do list?
Okay, step one. This comes right from the University of Sydney incident. You have to inventory everything. And I don't mean sending an email asking what servers do we have.
You mean automated discovery?
Yes. You need tools that scan your network for everything connected to it. You cannot protect what you don't know exists. You have to find those forgotten code libraries, those test servers from 2018.
The shadow IP problem. Find it and kill it if you don't need it.
Yeah.
Okay, what's step 2?
This is for the developers. No prod in non-prod. It's the golden rule that was broken at the uni. Never use real customer data for testing, period.
But the developers always say, we need real data to catch the edge cases.
Then they need to use synthetic data or masked data. There are tools that take real data and just scramble the personal info, change the names, the addresses, but keep the structure. There's no excuse in 2026 for having real names in a test environment.
Right, okay. Step 3.
MFA is non-negotiable. Multi-factor authentication. This hits the healthcare and the INET issues. If a doctor writes a password on a sticky note, that's bad. But if the system also requires a thumbprint or a code from a phone, that sticky note is useless to a hacker.
It stops credential theft.
Patch. Immediately. If you use modern JavaScript frameworks, you need to check your version now. If it's vulnerable, patch it today. Don't wait for your quarterly maintenance window. A CVSS 10 is an open door.
I want to pivot just for a second to the individual listener. We have a lot of people listening who might actually be in that Uni of Sydney data set, or a patient at Genia. If I'm listening and I think, oh, that's me, what should I do?
First, don't panic. But you have to be hyper-vigilant. The university noted there's no evidence yet of publication, but that can change at any moment.
It's the phishing risk, isn't it?
It's huge. If I'm a scammer and I know your name, your address, and that you worked at Sydney Uni as a professor of biology in 2018, I can write a very convincing email to you.
Dear Professor, regarding your pension.
Exactly. So look at every single email with suspicion. And there's one other piece of advice the university gave, which I think is brilliant. Do not post about the breach on social media.
Really? Why is that?
Yeah.
People usually vent on Twitter or LinkedIn straight away.
Because it paints a target on your back. If you post, I can't believe I'm caught up in this hack, you are basically signaling to scammers, hello, I am a victim and I am emotional and confused right now. You are inviting them to target you.
That is solid advice. Silence is safety in that regard.
It really is.
You know, we started this expecting to talk about high-tech cyber warfare, but when you boil it all down, deleting old files, not sharing passwords, and patching software, it's pretty basic hygiene.
It is. But as this week proves, if you ignore the basics, the consequences are catastrophic.
Well, we are just about out of time, but before we go, I want to leave our listeners with one last thought. Give us something to chew on.
Okay. We worry a lot about the sophisticated threats. We worry about AI hackers and state-sponsored groups like Jackpot Panda, and we should. But I want to ask everyone listening, are you ignoring the boring risks to chase the exciting ones? Because this week proves that your biggest threat might not be some super virus. It might be a test file from 2018 that you just forgot to delete.
The boring stuff will get you every time. That's the thought for the week.
It really will.
Well, thank you all for tuning in to this edition of Tech Talks with Kinsoft.
Pleasure to be here.
If all this talk of React 2 Shell and DevSecOps has you worrying about your own business's safety, or if you're suddenly remembering a test server you haven't checked in 3 years, you don't have to figure it out alone.
Absolutely not. Security is a team sport. If you need help auditing your systems or securing your IT infrastructure, reach out to the professionals.
Head over to www.kinsoft.com.au. That's www.kinsoft.com.au to discuss your security and IT needs. They can help you find those silent failures before the bad guys do.
Stay safe out there.
Catch you next time.